Hey guys, Myzzrym here with part 3 of the Big Pub Guide. Today, tackling the question of which hero should I pick in pub. It's a very broad subject, so it's gonna take quite a long time compared to the other videos. So, first of all, I want to stop the illusion of having tier hero. When you're in pub, every hero works, and I mean every hero, not like every hero bar 1 or 2. That is because, well, in pub games, it's probably not going to be, or should I say, very likely not to be as structured as in competitive games. So it's not like this hero will not work because obvious flaws 1, obvious flaw number 2, and obvious flaw number 3. Of course, some heroes are not picked in competitive gaming for a reason. One obvious example would be a Bloodseeker, who is probably going to act like a washed down Night Stalker if he was picked in competitive gaming. In fact, he was picked once, but against a team that wasn't really competent. It was Synderen's team who just formed few, I don't know how much time ago, but it's very recent. So they got crushed by I don't really remember. I think it's Team Liquid with a Bloodseeker pick, but except from that, Bloodseeker, we never saw him on the competitive scene, and for a good reason, because against competitive teams, he's not efficient. But in pubs, you want to play Bloodseeker? Go ahead. It's not like it's not gonna work. Pubs, the thing to remember is that it's very random. You do not know who you're playing with. You do not know who you're playing against. So this first thing that I wanted to say is that if you want and if you like a hero, don't let anyone tell you that this hero doesn't work, because it will. If you're good with that hero, it will work. And another example would be Meepo. Everyone used to say Meepo is an underpowered crap. He is very hard to play, and basically he's too easy to shut down. You just have to know his face, and he's, basically a worthless hero. Well, just look at No-Tail from Fnatic. He just crushes face with Meepo all the time. Be that in pub games, and even now in competitive games, sometimes he was picking Meepo. So that being said, let's go over the heroes that I actually do not advise you playing if you don't want to risk. Basically, you can win with every hero. That's the main point. But with some heroes, it's more risky because you're more relying on your allies. Okay, so the first type of hero that is very risky to play is the very hard carry. The reason I say that is because the very hard carries are those who usually rape late game when they have items, but that necessitate you to, 1, get to late game, and 2, have items. So what's gonna happen? Such hero is, for example, Spectre and Medusa. Those two heroes absolutely bring nothing to the table until very late game. And those heroes, they will be in a lot of trouble if, 1, your laning stage sucks. For example, you are picking Spectre, but then your allies pick something like, I don't know, they pick Riki plus Anti-Mage, plus, they get also a Templar Assassin and another, I don't know, carry hero like Clanks, and you're fucked because your lane stage will suck. You will have a Spectre Riki lane, and that will suck dick, and you will not be able to farm. So you will be useless in the early game. In the mid game, since you do not have any more items, you will be useless again. And in the late game, you will be useless because you couldn't manage to find any farm, and whenever you went into fight, you would die. So this is one of the heroes that is actually very risky to play. A good Spectre can wreak havoc in the late game and just win the game. Same with a good Medusa. If you let Medusa farm, you're asking to lose. But it's less about the enemies letting you farm. Usually you say that in competitive games, like, oh, this team threw the game away because they let the carry farm. In pub games, very often it's not because of that you will actually not be able to farm. It's not because the enemy team is shutting you down. It's because your own team is not geared toward you farming. Another example would be you can't get to late game. that happens more and more as you get into the higher levels of matchmaking. Sometimes your team just gets crushed so early and so quickly. Let's just say middle lane had a Shadow Fiend and he just get killed again and again and again and again by TA. And the TA is just so fat that she just comes in every lane, blink in, and two-shot everyone. What can you do against that? What can you really do against that, except for 5 men and staying together? And that is not what you want to do if you want to farm. So, as you can understand here, having a super late game carry is dangerous in pubs. Try to go for carries that can carry the late game, but also have power in the early game. An example, very good example, would be PL. PL is absolutely horrible to play against late game. He has an army of illusions, and the illusions are just very hard to bring down. Plus, you're playing pubs, so it's very unlikely that people will go for fast push builds. So the game, even when it's going very badly, very often it will drag on to 30, 40, maybe 50, 60 minutes because the enemy team, even if they're winning, they're just farming and then pushing and then farming and then pushing. They're not going for the killing blow. They don't go straight for the middle, get the barracks, and then get the ancients. It's very unlikely that this will happen in pubs. So PL, what can he offer in the early game? Well, even if he doesn't have a lot of farm, you just have to get something like a Soul Ring and a Tranquil Boots. And then, what can you do? You can use the lenses to be absolutely horrible to lane against. So maybe you do not get a lot of farm, but you are able to slow an enemy down, damage that enemy, plus you have the doppel walk to run away if necessary, and you have a tool to start farming better in the mid game if ever your early game was shit, because you can create illusions that tank the damage for you, so you can go into the jungle and just farm there. Another hero would be, for example, the Faceless Void, who is kind of halfway between the PL and the Spectre. Without items, he's virtually useless, but he still has this ultimate that can be a saving grace. If you land a 4-man or 5-man Chronosphere onto the enemy, that's kind of like an RP, that's kind of like a black hole. It's very, very potent in teamfights. Now, the problem is, if you have no items, you won't be able to do any damage. But still, you have that, slow with the jump, and you have the Chronosphere. So you kind of turn into a support, Void, kind of like the Trend Protector, who is used mainly for his ultimate. So this is one type of hero that is dangerous. Play the heroes that can do something in the early game as well as in the late game. So, if I was to go over the heroes, for example, Sven can be okay because he has a stun, he has the Warcry, he can be played as a support as well as a carry. Tiny also has a huge burst, he can carry very hard with the Aghanim Scepter. You also that in the second international with Slam with the tiny Wisp carry and just like wrecking everything with the Aghanim Scepter. And if it's not going that well, you don't need to go for the Aghanim Scepter. You can go for the more traditional burst Tiny with the Blink Dagger. So you have something to fall back on if the carry mode isn't working for you. So you have other example like Kunkka, like Dragon Knight. All those heroes, they can do something late game, although not maybe as well as Medusa, but they are able to carry-ish the game. Plus, they have the impact early game. So what else do we have as a carry that can work? Anti-Mage is still okay-ish. He needs items, but if you're doing very badly as Anti-Mage, you don't need to go for the heavy carry build items. You can still go for something like a Vanguard, something more survivability oriented, and be a dick, because you have the mana burn, which is super annoying. And even if you don't have a lot of items, it will still be a very big part of the team fight, because you will be able to annoy a support hero. Plus, if ever an enemy has no mana because he just blew all his mana on spells, you can land the killing blow with the Mana Void, something that Spectre can't really do. Dro is also a hero that can carry well, and that doesn't need that many items. That's the power of Dro, is that the ultimate grants her so much damage, and plus she buffs the allies. So even if you're not farming well as Drow, you can do something. You also have the silence, which is key to Drow Ranger. Juggernaut, you have the spin in the early game. The late game carry aspect is not that great, but it's still here. Rikimaru, well, you have the Cloud, which is super annoying. Morphling has been nerfed a whole lot, so I'm not really sure it's really good to play him anymore. But if you like Morphling, be aware that it's a hard hero to play. You have to understand how Morph works very well, and you have to find the great limit. So Luna is okay, Gyarados okay. Basically, there's not a lot of heroes that is dangerous to play when it comes to carry. It's just, I think, just those two heroes. Or no, three heroes maybe. Like the Void, the Spectre, and the Medusa. I'm trying to think about some other hero on top of my head, but I feel like this is kind of it. You have also the Obsidian Destroyer, which need a lot of items as well, but at the very worst, he had the Imprisonment. He can be used as a mana dispenser, and the ultimate can also, burn the mana from the enemy, although it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. Okay, so this is the first type of hero that's dangerous to pick. The second type is the very hard support. Now, I don't want to, push you away from supporting, because we need support in pubs. You can't really say, because it's risky to play support, I'm not going to play support. Because if everyone says that, you will get a full team of carry, and that will not work. Well, sometimes it works if your enemies are so bad that you're outplaying them, but most of the time it will not work. So why do I say that? Since it's a pub game and you don't know who you are with, the problem of a late game support is that it cannot win the game. Now, a support can really impact the early game and the mid game like hell. He can be really a credit to the team. He can be ganking left and right, and very soon with that support, you may be finding your team 10-0 above the other team. Plus with the wards, plus with everything, that's really, the supports give the tempo of the early game. But the problem is it's a pub. So what happened with the pub is, as I said earlier, people are not used to just push. They just want to stay in their lane and farm, and that's probably 99% of people's mentality in pubs. A lot of time I've seen in my team something like 25 to 8 kills, so we are winning by a landslide. And I say, guys, it's time to push. We have to finish that. They have 4 enemy carries, and we can't allow them to just turtle and farm. And people would just say, well, they wouldn't answer it. They would just say, maybe, oh, I have to farm for my BKB, I have to farm for my whatever. And in the end, we lose, because although they did farm for the items, they just don't scale as well as having an enemy with a BKB, like 4 enemy carry with BKBs rushing down your face, and you have nothing to stop them because, well, you have like a Crystal Maiden, you have a Lina, you have a Lion, and all those 3 heroes were really good at killing in the early game, but once they have BKBs, well, too bad. Lion is just gonna pop, Lina's gonna pop, Crystal Maiden's gonna pop, and that's gonna be the end. So those heroes that have very low scalability into the late game, you have to be careful about it. So heroes like, of course, Crystal Maiden, heroes like the Lina, heroes like Lion. Some heroes fare better than others in the late game as supports. One example would be Rubik, because the spell seal is always good. Another example would be, for example, Enigma, because the Black Hole goes through BKB, the Magnus goes through BKB, the RP. For example, the Windrunner can be played as a whole lot of different roles, but she can also semi-carry-ish if she gets to the late game. Same with Silencer if he's played a support role. Keeper of the Light in the late game can be a very huge asset to the team fight because he has a blinding light, and he has a recall, which gives a free boost of travel to any ally. So imagine an ally dies, he buys back. Well, recall, you're back in the fight immediately. You don't have to walk back to there. So there's a lot of supports who are efficient in the late game as well. Always try to keep in mind what is important. Lina, for example, is very powerful because she has a huge burst, and that's good in the early game because you can just nuke down instantly someone before the fight actually starts, and that's a 4v5 immediately. Plus, when you gank, you don't give the enemy time to fall back or TP. You have Lina here, Laguna Blade, bam, you're dead. But in the late game, someone like a Shadow Shaman might be better because he has the Sheep, that is excellent. He has the Shackle, that's always good to just take someone out of the fight. And he has the Wards to push, because pushing is a big aspect in the game. Always try to see that. I don't want to say Crystal Maiden, don't pick that hero. Of course, Crystal Maiden is a very good hero as well. But keep in mind that if you play with people you don't know at all, there's always that possibility. And when you get to the late game, you're going to facepalm saying, God damn it, I should have taken someone else. For example, Crystal Maiden, the big problem of Crystal Maiden is that she has nothing to prevent the enemy from going into BKB. If the Shadow Shaman jumps on someone and Sheep, the guy can't BKB. If he shackles, the guy can't BKB. Crystal Maiden, she can use Crystallize, and that just stops the hero from moving. But he used BKB, and then he turns around, and Crystal Maiden is toast. So that's the second type of hero that is dangerous to play. The heroes that have no scalability into the late game, and that just can't do anything against BKBs. So if I want to give the other example on the other side, so I did say Shadow Shaman. Shadow Demon is also a very good hero, because if the enemy carries get big, well, disruption. Okay, so you have to fight 2 of your own illusions that are super strong as well. You have stuff that actually doesn't get any worse by time, such as the Nightmare, the Fiend's Grip. You have also the possibility of having your Dazzle with the minus armor that actually enhance your own allies and that debuff your enemies. The Weave. You also have the Shallow Grave. It's always 4 seconds, be it at level 1 or at level 25. So always keep that in mind. So then you also have another thing to keep in mind. It's less about the hero itself, but about your team composition. Now I'm gonna say, for example, what happens if your team gets a lot of a carry, a initiator, a support, but you just realize, where are the stuns? If your team has no stun whatsoever, even if you have tons of slow, it's gonna be very dangerous, because it is just asking for a hero like Weaver or Anti-Mage, because you just can't do anything about them. You slow them down and then they just blink away, and you just can't shut them down, and they will just be always here to farm and just farm, and then in the late game kill you. You almost, as a rule of thumb, almost always want to have at least 2 or 3 stuns in your team. Slows are good, disruptions are good, but stuns are really the key. And if there's no stun in your team, you have to go for a Sheepstick as soon as possible. That's one of the key things. So if you're one of the last guys to actually pick, make sure that you actually look at your team disables. Crystal Maiden, as I said earlier, she has Crystallize, which is good in early game, but in late game, it doesn't prevent your enemy from going into BKB. And that's one of the key points, is preventing your enemy from going into BKB and killing him first, without him using BKB. So, disables, very important in pub games. That's especially true in pub games, see? Because in competitive games, they have the team play, they have the communication enough for them to actually be able to just pull off all the kills with only 2 stuns maybe, and maybe only with 1 stun, because they just wait until the enemy blink and then they use it or whatever. But in pub, it's just everyone's throwing stuff at each other, and there's very little communication. You will be very hard pressed to have your allies just chaining perfectly the stuns. So stuns, very important as well. And in terms of composition, you also want to have a hard carry, or just a carry hero that someone that can do well in the late game. The reason I say that is, as I said, pub really don't like to push until it's very late, and they have like 4 items that is in their inventory, 4 big items. I don't know why they want to do that, but the thing is there, the fact is there. The players, they want to have the big items before pushing, and that means if you don't have actually a very big carry in your team, it's very likely that you will get to that point where your enemy turtle and your allies just farm, and then you get to the point where they win one team fight and then two team fight, and then it's over because they have a carry, they have two carries, they have three carries, and they have BKBs, and it's over. So, for example, when you see an enemy going for PL, you better make sure that either your team is gonna crush through the crush the PL in the lane, or finish the game before he gets big, or you have something to counter or just stand against the PL in the late game. So my personal favorite pick against the PL is the Medusa, because her ultimate just destroy all his illusions for I think 7 seconds or something. So during 7 seconds the PL can't really do anything because every illusion that just pops gets destroyed instantly. And when I play Medusa like this, I play her with early game items like Ring of Kula and the Drum of Endurance into a Manta style, because this will allow my Medusa to be not useless for the first 30 minutes of games. Like I said, you know, when you have a Spectre or a Void, if you don't have any damage, that's gonna be, if you don't have any items, that's gonna be harsh. So I try to make it as much as possible that it's not the case by buying items that are just, you know, more hybrid items. Yeah, so that was picking a carry hero, and also you need someone that is initiator, because the problem with pubs is that if you have no one that can go in first, there will not be something like in competitive gaming where people actually smoke gank. Well, they do smoke gank from time to time, but very good smoke ganks and repetitive ganks don't happen all the time. So you will not be able to just get those advantageous teamfights all the time. Very often what will happen in pubs is one guy will decide to push and the others will say, okay, so let's push, and it's going to be 5v5 and everyone just staring at each other just in front of the tower because everyone's scared to go in. If you have someone like, let's say, Tidehunter, you're forcing the teamfight. Blink in, Ravage, blam, the teamfight starts. Same with, for example, Warlock. You want to start the teamfight? Golems. Even if it's not optimal, because of course you may not want to initiate with the golems, but you have the tool to be there. You have the possibility. Another example would be Lone Druid Spirit Bear. You have a Lone Druid, well, the Spirit Bear is just going to tank down the tower and push down the tower, and the enemy has to move. So you're just forcing them to initiate or to do something at least. If you don't have this power, if you don't have something like a Nex that can go in, a Chaos Knight that could just go in, a Magnus, or, you know, even a Slaughter or whatever, something that is kind of tanky and then can go in the front line, you will be in a huge pain if they have one and you have not. Because I have played a lot of games where we have disables, carries, supports, but no one that actually goes in. So you have, for example, the let's say Invoker, you have Crystal Maiden, you have Windrunner, you have a Draw Ranger, you have something else like a, I don't know, let's say a Venomancer or a Weaver. Well, what's gonna happen? How are we gonna go and hit the tower? Who's gonna go and hit the tower? No one. If you go and put your I don't know, if you put your Draw Ranger in the front, and that no one's actually here to protect her, she's gonna get blown up. She has to use BKB to just hit the tower, or she's gonna get stunned and killed. So you want to have something that can start the fight. Otherwise, since it's a pub game and that no one is communicating, you can't really say, okay, so now 2 of you actually get the tower, 3 of us will actually support you, and we will go like this. If that happened, we do that. If that happened, we do this. This will not happen. So you need someone that can actually go in, like a Tidehunter, like a Bat Rider that starts the team fight, that forces something to start. Otherwise, very often it's going to be very painful. So, to recap, what did I say in that video? First, very hard carry that have no ability in the early game, no impact in the middle game, danger. Second, supports or any hero that do not scale at all for the late game, that can't really do anything against BKB, danger. Of course, when I say can't do anything against BKB, Shadow Shaman or Lion, if the enemy is already in BKB, they can't do anything, but they can prevent them from going into BKB. So they are not included in that list. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is get disables. and by disables I mean stuns. Stuns are key. Fourth is you need at least a carry in the team or someone who can do well with items. 5 is get a initiator or someone that is actually very tanky that can go first. I hate to use the term tank because it's not a tank. It's not League of Legends where you can stack up to 230, 300 armor. It's not like that, but you still need someone that is at least a little bit tanky to be able to get the focus fire so your allies can take advantage of the enemies attacking that hero in particular and then raid them with that. So you have the need of a hero that can take the first wave of punishment without dying. And then, since they all blew something on this hero, you can turn it around and say, our turn, fight. That, or you have an ability to pick someone off, like, for example, Pudge or Batrider. You may not be able to go in and take the tower down, but you will be able, if you siege, to just pick someone off instead and say, okay, so you're not going in because we're not going in because we have no initiator. But if we pick one away from you, well, it's going to be the same thing, 4v5. I think that covers it. Another dangerous thing would be if you only have melee heroes. That's often a very bad sign. It can work because it's less it's less unforgiving than having no carry or having no initiator or whatever, because it's only gonna hurt you very much in the laning phase and sometimes in team fight as well. But for some part, most of the melee heroes have some range ability or some ability to actually go in without having them to walk up to the enemy. So that's gonna be normally pretty okay. It's gonna be harder, but it's gonna be okay. And oh yeah, one last thing, if you want to actually win is regardless of your pick, if you have 4 carry heroes or even 5, remember that some carry heroes can actually support. Of course, they're not the best support ever, but we saw someone going for, I think it was a team from Southeast Asia. They went for a support Juggernaut, and that worked. They had I think it was a Nex that was the primary carry. Juggernaut was with him, and there was one more support like the Shadow Demon, and that's actually very potent because you won't get many items as the Juggernaut, but you will still be very powerful in the early game due to the spin, and you will be also very dangerous against the enemy supports if they're warding because of the Omni Slash. So if that is to happen, if your game starts and you have 5 carries, remember that getting a courier, getting a ward, even if you're a carry hero, it will be giving you a lot more chance to actually win the game. If you're not trying to contest the farm of your other laner, instead of having 2 shitty heroes with shitty farm, you will have one hero with shitty farm, and the other hero will be fat, and the hero with shitty farm will still be able to do something. Of course, it's not working with all the heroes. For example, as I said, you can't really support as a Spectre, but you can support as a Juggernaut. Like I said, you can support with a Luna that goes not for damage items, but she goes for something like the more the drums. She can go for the mechanism if she wants, stuff like that. Like we see Magnus also in competitive game going for mechanism because he doesn't necessarily need to get the Daedalus or whatever damage items because he can use the Empower on his allies. So be versatile with your hero picks. Be versatile with your game plan also once you have the hero. One last thing. The random button. I assume here that you're playing AP, of course. So the random button, try to not use it too much if you do not know the heroes. Once you get up to 70%, 80% of the heroes that you actually know and know how to play, you can random. But the problem of randoming is you are very likely to have a hero that you don't like to play or you don't really know how to play if you're not practicing with all the heroes. So in the end, you're risking to just repick and lose 100 gold instead of gaining 250 gold. Also, if you're randoming, please ask for if someone want to swap before repicking, because sometimes some people actually want that hero, and that means you get extra gold, and also they get happy because they get to play their heroes. So yeah, that is AP mode. SD mode, or let's say AR mode, all random mode. It's not really serious, so if you go for AR, just have fun with it. SD mode is also it's kind of random-ish mode depending on what you get to play, because sometimes you might not have a lot of good choice, whereas the enemy have. So yeah, the SD mode, the all random mode is I can't really say much about it. It's good to learn when you, well, it's good to, yeah, go out of your comfort zone and get some heroes that you never play. But I feel like if you have a hero that you never play, you must go in bot game first to just at least know what the skill do, so you don't do, like, you don't crap all over your team in the first game that you play him. Okay, so I'm trying to think. I feel like I forgot one last thing to talk about the picks. Oh yeah, counter picking. You have two different type of people, or three different type of people. You have the people who just random as soon as they go in the game. That's okay. There's no problem. I do that all the time. You have the people who are waiting until their team actually gets some heroes to know what they should pick. This is also what happens if I'm coming late, because I was alt-tabbing out of the game. If I come late and I see that, oh, we're lacking a support, so okay, I'm gonna support. Oh, we're lacking an offlaner, so okay, let's offlane it. And you have the type of people who just wait until the enemy pick heroes so they can counter pick it. That also happens. For example, if I see that there's a PL and there's no hard carry on my side, I'm just gonna pick Medusa, because as I said, I'm really feeling confident with Medusa against PL. Same if I see something like an anti-mage, or again a PL, but there's already a carry, I'm just going to go Shadow Demon. If I see someone on the other side picking Enigma, another going for Magnus, another going for Tidehunter, I'm going to pick Rubik, of course, because there's a lot of good spells to seal. So all of this, like, you have the enemies getting very, very good late game carries, you get a Darkseer for the Wall of Replica, and there's also this kind of mentality you can actually choose. There are some heroes that are dangerous to play if the enemies have some particular hero, like if you have Pudge and Clockwork on the, if you have Clockwork on the other side and you have Pudge, if you hook him, you know that you can't dismember, because he's gonna have this little fart ability that's gonna mini-stun you. And same, it's what is the point of playing Pudge if the enemy heroes are all very tanky? If you have an enemy Nex, an enemy Slaughter, an enemy Chaos Knight, a Magnus, and for example another very tanky hero like a Morphling, for example, like, there's no reason to pick the Pudge, because you hook one, you can't kill him, and he can escape probably, or he can use the RP on you, or he can use the Ravage on you. So some heroes just look before you actually pick them, and there it is. So I feel like this is covering pretty much everything for that video. It has been a very long video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I wasn't boring you too much. And in the next video, I'm probably going to go over the improving mentality in the early stages of the Dota 2 play. So for example, stage 2, as I said, when you're a learning stage. So thank you for watching, guys. If you like that, don't forget to subscribe or whatever, and well, you know the gist. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.